wish you could erase people, videographers, and their hundreds of tripods, or just random distractions from your photos without hours of clone stamping, you're gonna love today's editing tutorial on Lightroom's Generative Remove tool. I'm sharing behind the scenes from a recent wedding edit, this one right here, where I really pushed this tool to its limits. Did I succeed? You'll have to see for yourself, so grab your coffee or some tea, I got my matcha, and let's jump right in. So I've selected a few photos from this wedding edit that I feel really showcase some of the different aspects of what this tool can do and just how powerful it is. With the last example being a little experiment I tried that really blew my mind. So definitely stick around for that. But let's go through each of these together while exploring the best practices and all the ins and outs of Lightroom's Generative Remove. Coming to our first image, we'll press Q on our keyboard to bring up our Generative Remove tool. And now, this is a good photo, but there's a few things that are stealing from it having its full impact. First is this large shadow on the ground that's being created by an umbrella that's just outside the frame. And what this does is it creates a bit of a heaviness on that right corner of our image that is going to take away from that light and airy and editorial feel that I was going for. We really want all of our focus to be going towards our subject, and this imbalance pulls our eyes over to the corner of the frame. So we can go ahead and start painting on that, but quick tip, before we do anything, the most important thing to know in order to get good results with this tool, we want to apply the Generative Remove before we crop. And in particular, we want to do this when removing something towards the edge of the frame. That way we have all of that data to work with. So if you've already cropped like I have here, we're going to want to reset the crop for those best results. All right, so now that we've done that, we'll bring back up our tool and we can go ahead and paint on our image. And what's great about Lightroom's AI is you don't have to be too perfect or precious about this because it's pretty smart. So we'll go ahead and make our selection, press remove, and let it do its thing. All right, so coming in, that looks actually pretty good right there. What's nice is we do have a few variations. So if you don't like the first one, I always click through them anyways just to see what I'm given. Ooh, that looks even better. This one has more texture in the ground. Let's see what our third option, I don't like that as much. Pattern on that is pretty good. I'd say number 2 is the winner in my eyes. And you know, it's not perfect, but for the most part, it's pretty dang good. This would be a little bit harder of an edit. And we're talking when you're doing bulk amounts of images, sometimes it's just not realistic to be going in and retouching every little thing on the photo. So this allows us to, as photographers of events, be able to go in and do these more specialized tweaks that we wouldn't maybe normally do on all of our images. So I think that looks pretty great. The other distraction that I don't like is the violinist and the harpist over here having a side conversation. If this were a ceremony shot and it was entertainment that was part of the scene, I would want them in it. But in this case, they're a bit of a distraction. And I feel like their umbrella also pulls attention away, as well as these dark black speakers. So just to clean up this image even more, what's nice is we can have multiple selections. So make my brush a bit bigger and I can just continue painting. Again, we don't have to be too perfect. Let's grab that umbrella. And this is a bit of a more complex pattern just because we have bushes with a lot of detail and texture here. And say there was something that I didn't want to be painted, I can come over to the subtract, and I'm actually going to take this bit of chair out. I've noticed sometimes with things like this, it can get confused and do things that we don't want. So we'll just go ahead and take the chair out, and let's make sure we get all of her head in there and this black area down here. All right, that looks pretty good for our selection. We'll go ahead and remove and see what it does. And that is pretty darn good. Well, I always like to just kind of check the variations. That one looks pretty nice as well. I just don't like this bright spot it's creating here. And I think number 1 is our winner. This would have been really hard to do just because it's a natural pattern. And what happens sometimes is if we're using the clone tool or things like that, it can look a little patterny when we're cloning things across. But this is looking at the surroundings and actually making up what might be there. And I'd like this to be removed just a little bit more, so I can even come back in and go over that. And I also know that there's another speaker over here. So we can select both of these at once and go ahead and remove those as well. Boom. That looks really nice. And there's our image. We can now go ahead and fix our crop. And we have our final image. So a quick before and after. So now it's more of a portfolio image where all of the attention goes right to our couple and they really shine. I want to do a more complex edit next, but real quick, here's a couple other before and afters to see how Lightroom handled other similar things like this with patterns. Here's another image of that same ceremony site where I got more of an above image, just showing off the details of the site. Again, we have our entertainment having a side conversation, we have speakers, and we also have this table, which is overlapping the chair here. So it's kind of a similar situation. And here is our after photo. And you can see Lightroom did such a good job of recreating that chair, and we have a much cleaner image. One more quick example. So this is another pattern example. We have our before, where there's this kind of layer of kelp or something on top of the water. And if we were to clone this with our clone tool, again, this is kind of a natural variation of ripples in the water. It is a little bit harder to get that natural look, but AI does an amazing job. Before we go to the next edit, here's a quick tip on when you should not use this tool. This photo right here is a perfect example. There's a few obvious distractions that would keep me from showing this as a portfolio photo, such as the vent, the fire sprinkler, and this light fixture that is pulling our eyes upward. I want to clean up this photo, but these could easily be handled with the content aware brush instead, which also does a great job for simple retouches. So you could use the generative remove, but here's 2 reasons why I wouldn't necessarily recommend it unless you need it. And I'll go ahead and share these while we quickly remove just these couple little distractions together. The first reason is generative remove is cloud-based, so it's going to take a bit longer to process. And when used right, it's really going to speed up our workflow. But when using it for everything, it can actually slow down our editing process. And reason number 2 is that while you can use the content aware brush right here as much as you want, you don't have unlimited use of the generative remove tool. The way Adobe's rolled out this tool is with a restricted use credit system that refreshes every month. And the number of credits you get depends on your subscription, but currently ranges around 100 to 1,000. So of course you can buy more credits on your subscription, but why waste your free ones when it doesn't really benefit you? All right, let's move on to the next photo that involves removing objects and people in more complex or detailed backgrounds. This is a photo that ended up in my couple's wedding album, but the original had a lot going on. We were in this pretty busy parking area, so there was a lot of people walking in and out of the frame. So that's the first thing we'll target here. Go ahead and brush right over this person and what I believe is a car here. We're also going to, let's come in with a smaller brush to take out this light pole and this fire hydrant. And in October, one of the nice things that Lightroom did was they added the ability to make multiple selections in one photo. So if you're in busy season and you're worried about running through your credits, or you just want to do things more efficiently to save time, you can actually have generative remove process multiple unconnected things in a photo at one time. So this is really nice. So even though with that fire hydrant, I could have quickly cleaned it up with just my clone tool because it was a pretty simple edit with a clean area to the side of it, I might as well just have AI do its job and see what it comes up with. Again, the most important part of our edit is this because that's the most complicated part of it. So that's the area I'm going to focus on and make sure it looks good. That example isn't too bad. It looks pretty clean back there. Could be a little bit better, but think that one looks a little bit more natural. If we wanted to, we could come generate again, but I like that. I'd say the only other thing is the shadow on the fire hydrant. So I'll just come in with my clone tool here that allows us to just quickly take out where that fire hydrant was. And now you can see we have a nice clean image. So we can come and go before and after. By the way, if you're someone that's serious about creating a premium portfolio that is going to be attractive to those higher end bookings, also make sure to grab my free premium portfolio checklist. These are the exact same tips that I use with my students to craft cohesive, high-end portfolios that have allowed them to double or even triple their prices. And I'm sharing it for free for a limited time, so click the link in the description or the pinned comment below to go ahead and grab that. Next tip is a bit of a lesser known one that can really mess up your edits if you don't know it, and it has to do with your brush and adjustment masks. So if I were to remove this efficient standing behind my couple, we'll go ahead and just make a quick painting selection here and press remove. I don't know why the officiants always do this. They always want to stand right behind for that first kiss. And one thing you'll notice is there's a bit of a halo here. And we'll go ahead over to R2 and R3, and it actually doesn't get any better. So the reason for this is I have a mask on this image and it's interacting with the mask. Really, the ordering is what's important here, and the order matters. So one thing that we can do is we either want to remove our masks and do any sort of AI generative remove editing before we put on masks, or a quick solution for this is to come into that mask, right click, and put update AI masks. And that's going to quickly go ahead and update the masks. As you can see, all fixed. So if you run into this issue, that's all you have to do. Right click, update mask. Now let's really test AI's limits. This was a fun one. I'm constantly trying to see how far I can push this tool. And one of the things I was really excited to try is when I came across this photo, I really wanted a shot of the entire wedding party against the pergola and the ocean. But because of the size of the wedding and the tightness of the ceremony area, there really wasn't much space. Like, it was a matter of a couple feet maybe between the wedding party and all the guests. So there wouldn't have been a wide enough lens that would have actually looked good to be able to get everybody in the frame without the guests in there as well. So just for fun, I decided to come in and give this a little test. So we're going to go ahead and start painting out the guests. And again, we don't need to be too precise about this, but I am going to be a little bit more specific just because I don't want it doing more than necessary when it comes to some of the bridesmaid details, in particular her fingers and hands. AI, if you've played with it at all, doesn't tend to do fingers well. It adds fingers and weird things to hands. So it's one weakness, and I don't know why it hasn't gotten better in this one area yet. It will, but that seems to be the one thing it just doesn't do well. All right, now that we have everything ready, we'll go ahead and press remove. So let's go ahead and zoom in and see what it's done here. And as we can see, this is like actually pretty scary how good this is. There wasn't even any dress detail right here. So it's completely made this up. And it's not just the dress, it's the texture, it's the lighting on the dress, how it falls. It's done a really good job of making up data that wasn't there before. So far, all of this looks pretty spot on. If anything, maybe a little funkiness in the hand, but maybe a little bit here, but zoomed out, how this photo will be viewed majority of the time, it's pretty good. So let's come and click here to see what it did for the men. There's our funky hands. This is even weirder. Let's see if we have some variations here. And we can see it's also doing some different things with the floral back there. So for the hands, this is the one area where it's probably just not going to do a good job with hands. So we're going to be mainly looking at like, how are the pants looking in these images? How is our background? I think that one looks pretty good as far as the suits go. I mean, that's pretty freaking insane given that there was people in this image. And so I ended up taking this image, and for the final, I used what AI gave me, and then I just came into Photoshop and took some of the good hands to recreate better hands. But prior to this, this wouldn't have been an edit that I really messed with. So that's the cool thing about this tool, is it really allows us to stretch our creativity and do things with our body of work that maybe we wouldn't have otherwise. Maybe we wouldn't have done that level of retouching on a photo like this, but this just opens up the doors. With these tips, you could really level up your portfolio images. But now you might be wondering, what are some other ways you can improve your photos? If so, watch this video here next, where I share advice on how to curate your portfolio images and specifically what images not to include if you want to be able to raise prices and attract more bookings. Click to check it out. And if you enjoy these tutorial style edit together videos, drop a comment, let me know. I love hearing from you, and I love hearing your thoughts and suggestions. And as always, happy editing, and I'll catch you in the next video.